Hi, I'm Dr. Tiffany Sibley, and welcome to the first vlog of Living Life MD. Today, I've noticed the temperatures are noticeably cooler outside, and it got me started thinking about fall. And some of the things that I love most about fall is Halloween, the colors of the leaves changing, the feeling of that chill in the air, pumpkin spice lattes for those of you who love coffee, and other things such as pumpkin bread and banana bread. So today I would like to make a low-carb pumpkin bread for you. I happen to be low-carb because I'm overweight and my particular body type doesn't deal well with carbs, so I try to stay as low-carb as I possibly can. Thinking about that, I know that a lot of times diabetics also need to be low-carb or at least count their carbs in order to maintain their blood sugar levels. So I want to take this opportunity to share this recipe with you from one of my very favorite low-carb websites. And don't worry if you don't catch the measurements of the ingredients. I will post a link below giving you the link to the website and the recipe. So let's get started. So the first thing I have here is 2 cups of almond flour and half a cup of coconut flour. I have 2/3 cup of an artificial sweetener. I like to use erythritol. The reason why I like to use that is because it tends to be safer for my dogs in the house. You can use other sweeteners such as monk fruit or xylitol. Xylitol does tend to be toxic for animals, so you need to be careful when using that in your home. Monk fruit to me has a little bit of a almost too sweet taste, almost a metallic or burning taste at the end, so I don't tend to like to use that. So I like to use erythritol. Here I have half a tablespoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt, and 1½ teaspoons of nutmeg. Now, I think the original recipe calls for pumpkin pie spice, but I didn't have any in my pantry, and I love nutmeg, so I went ahead and put that in the recipe instead. Then next you have 1/3 cup of melted butter. The recipe does call for unsalted butter. However, sometimes I've used salted before and I haven't really noticed a taste difference, but just be aware. 3/4 cup of pumpkin puree. To make sure that it stays low carb, you want to make sure that your pumpkin puree or your canned pumpkin does not have added sugar in it. That's a really important piece. I would say though, most canned pumpkins don't really have the added sugar, so you don't really need to worry too much about it. And then we have 4 eggs. We're going to mix this all together, get those yolks mixed in. Now, I'm not a great chef. I can follow a recipe like nobody's business, but I'm not that creative, and so I use my recipes from blogging websites that I find, recipe books, good old-fashioned research, which as a physician, I'm really good at. The nice thing about this recipe is it really doesn't take too long to combine the ingredients. So we get it all just really well combined, mixed in there. Okay. And then we have just a regular loaf pan. I went ahead and sprayed mine with cooking spray. You can use other things like olive oil or avocado oil or some maybe other healthy fat oils that you can use. You can also line it with parchment paper. This particular loaf pan is really non-stick, so I don't tend to have to use parchment paper with it. I'm going to go ahead and try not to make a mess onto the counter. Try to get all the good stuff in there. And then just sort of smooth it out as best you can. Again, try not to get it on yourself or the counter. Okay. And then we're going to put it in the oven at 325 for 45 to 55 minutes. And while that's cooking, I just want to talk a little bit about the low-carb diet. I know when people are diagnosed with diabetes or when they realize that they are overweight and perhaps it's due to a lot more carbs in their diet than they really want, it can be a scary process to kind of leave it all behind. I mean, who wants to give up ice cream and cakes and pastas and rices and breads? It can be really overwhelming at first, especially when you've been diagnosed with diabetes. That is a chronic health condition that you may have for the rest of your life. And it can be quite overwhelming to think that so many things in your life have to change and have to change on, fairly quickly. And who wants to hear you have to have a better diet and exercise, right? Lifestyle changes. It's something that physicians say every single day. You need to make diet and lifestyle changes. And sometimes they don't have the time to really explain what those things mean. So what I really want to try and get out of these vlogs is just kind of explaining certain medical conditions, having you post comments and questions in the chat below as to why certain things are. What is diabetes, for instance? What does it mean to have to be on a diabetic diet? Am I going to have to take medications or alternate therapies? What could those things be? How do I exercise if I haven't exercised for years? Maybe your chronic medical condition is hypertension or congestive heart failure or even COPD, which is a breathing problem. These are the kinds of things I want to address in the vlog, because sometimes it's not easy to address it in a primary care or specialist visit because of time constraints. The truth is my physician colleagues are really busy seeing many, many patients a day, and they want to do their absolute best for each and every patient, but they just don't always have the time to do so. And so it is really hard to both exchange information and answer questions from patients in such a short period of time. That's what these vlogs are designed to do. They're designed to answer your questions, to address comments in the chat, to show you some different recipes that can be healthier for you. The truth is low carb is not the same as a regular diet. That's just the truth. But that doesn't mean it can't still be delicious and better for you. So let's take a little break. Feel free to enter some things into the chat, any questions you may have, and we'll be back as soon as the bread is done. Okay, so it has been baking for about 45 to 55 minutes at 325. And look at that. Beautiful and golden brown on top. It smells amazing. You can also insert a knife or a toothpick into the middle just to make sure that it is completely done. And what you have here is an amazing low-carb pumpkin bread to kick off your fall with. If you really want to know about serving sizes, you can again check out the website with the recipe on it, but generally the serving size is about 1.5 inch slice. It is 6.5 carbs, but 3.3 grams are fiber. So it's actually only 3.2 grams of carbs per slice, which is really nice. And as a little extra treat, I also recommend putting in 2 tablespoons of Ready Whip on top. Ready Whip is a cream-based whipped cream, so very little sugar is added. So it also makes a great companion to things like pumpkin bread, banana bread, and even just a little squirt in a cup if that's the way you like that best. So I appreciate everyone joining me for my first vlog. I want to continue to talk about these really important medical issues that a lot of people experience. I myself deal with obesity, and I'm working hard every day to try to increase my exercise, not living such a sedentary lifestyle with my job, and just eating low carb, because for me, that's how I feel best and how I lose weight. Diabetics also need to eat low carb again, so there's plenty of recipes out there. Don't be afraid to experiment, and don't think that just because you have to give up certain things in your life that you have to give them up forever. You can still have the things you love on a very, very occasional basis. But there's so many great foods to try and so many things that I've discovered as I'm eating low carb. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, then follow me at livinglife_MD. And if you want to read my 4-part blog series on diabetes, you can look for that at livinglifemd.wordpress.com. Thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you all on the next video.